See when I ride on bumbo.
It's fake kills.
One time, one time, one time.
Yeah. Standard.
One time. It's got to be. Lego, Lego.
Hello, my name is Coach Reen, and welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm going to be talking to you about a topic that makes most people uncomfortable, and I'm no different. I get uncomfortable talking about it. I've already done a few takes just to start the video off, but I'm going to just get to the point. I don't want anyone to take what I'm saying in the wrong way. This video is meant to be an educational video, informative video. In this video, I'm going to be telling you what not to say to the bereaved family. I did a video on the death of my daughter. I talked about the days leading up to her death and what happened, and I did a full story time on that. So if you would like to hear more about the story itself, you can watch that video. But in this video, I wanted to touch on, what do you say? Like, what do you say to the family of the bereaved family? What do you say to them? You hear about the death of your friend's mother, or you hear about the death of your coworker's husband, or whatever. And what's the most common thing people want to ask? People have this curiosity. So automatically you want to say to them, what happened? But I want you to take a minute and ask yourself, why do I need to know that right now? And instead of asking that, just offer your condolences. If you really need to know that information, is it necessary to know that right then and there? Do not ask the family, what happened? It's just not appropriate. It's not something that you should ask the family. You should not be asking the family what happened to the person at the funeral, before the funeral. Either you'll find out, or the family doesn't want you to know. But going and asking them, what happened? You're really asking this family member to relive the terrible thing that they heard about their loved one not being here anymore. You understand? So, God forbid, the only way that you can really understand what that question feels like is if you yourself have lost someone close to you. If you've lost someone close to you and people are coming up to you talking about, what happened? What happened? Oh my goodness. I get the natural curiosity, especially when someone dies suddenly. But that's really not, unless the family member, unless they offer that information, just don't ask. Another thing that people say that you shouldn't, okay, is someone like myself. I'm a bereaved mother. I lost my only child, my only daughter. She was 6 years old. And the number one question that I get asked is if I want to have more children. Again, before you ask a question like that to someone that just lost a child, think to yourself, do I need this information right now? And the answer is absolutely not, because it's none of your business what another person decides to do with their womb, right? So don't ask that. Don't say to them, oh, you can have other children. Oh, or when are you going to have more children? That is not the question to ask someone at the time of bereavement or after. Or if you find out about it 10 years after the fact and you meet them for the first time and you say to them, oh, so you never wanted more children? You might not mean to be harmful with that statement, but it's just uncouth. So please, let's not do that. Let's just not. So another thing that people do, either at the funeral or before, I guess it's a way. I guess people feel that if they share what happened to them when their mother died or when their uncle died or whatever. But I would caution you not to bring that conversation up at that moment. For instance, I'll give another, only person I could give examples about is myself. So when my daughter passed, people would come to me and say, yeah, I lost my dog and I really went through X, Y, and Z. Or, oh, when I lost my great aunt. And I'm not discrediting or denouncing anyone's loss. Is one loss more significant than the other? That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, when someone is fresh with grief, they're already handling a lot of emotional stress, emotional strain. So the best way to help them is not by adding additional trauma and telling them your trauma. You're not, trauma dumping at that moment is just not beneficial, and it's not going to help the person that lost someone at that moment, okay? Instead of focusing on the trauma that happened to you, ask them if they need you to help them with the funeral services, if they need flowers for the funeral, if they need you to call people and notify them, if whatever whatever way that you can service and help the family, offer to help at the repast and clean up or something. Offer your services in a positive way instead of dumping the trauma that you've experienced onto them. When you lose a family member, everyone comes around initially, right? Everyone is there for you. People are calling. People are texting. The funeral is packed. Oh, woe is me. Everyone feels bad. Everyone drops food off at your house. But then, after the funeral, the silence. The family goes home and there's silence. There's that void. And it really sets in that this person is not coming back. So what I suggest is reaching out to the family way after the funeral happens. Offering either, I'm not saying you have to have this grand party at your house for them, but maybe offer them, invite them over to your house for dinner, or go out to dinner together. Go out to the movies. Be there to be a shoulder for them to cry on. We live in a microwave society. What I mean by that is we are constantly fed short videos. We're constantly fed clips of an interview. And sometimes we don't get the full story. And we definitely don't get the full story with grief. Grief is not, oh, it's been a month, get over it. And people don't necessarily say it in that tone or in that way. But if you're like, you have to move on, you have to get over it to someone, and it's a year, it's 2 years, you cannot put a timestamp on how people will grieve and how it will affect their life. What you can do as a friend or as a confidant to them or someone that's in their life is be there for them. Really be there. Be there to take them out. Be there to be a shoulder. Be there just to be an ear if they need to call you and just cry and talk about it. If you can't handle being that person, be honest about it and say, you know what? I really don't know what to say. I don't know how you feel, but I just want to let you know that I love you and I'll be here to support you however you need me to. Say something like that. But allow them to grieve. Don't be quick to tell them, don't cry. Encourage them to cry it out. Losing someone that you love, like a child, a parent, an aunt, a best friend, a husband, a boyfriend, that grief, you don't know how you're going to respond to the grief until you go through it yourself. So we have to stop telling people They need to grieve quickly, get back to work, get back to society. If they lost their husband, get back to dating, jump back in there, because it's not that easy. It's really not. And I wanted to give these tips. I wanted to have this conversation about life after death, right? Because I feel like it's a topic that's not talked about enough. It's not a quick fix. You are not just gonna get over it, and you will never get over it. That's probably the thing that I wanted to say, is that you'll never get over it. You'll never feel how you felt before, because your life is forever changed. But that doesn't mean that you can't smile again. It doesn't mean that you won't think about them and laugh instead of cry. But give yourself grace, because the initial shock of losing them and having to get all of their affairs in order, and that finality of the funeral, the finality of getting the death certificate and seeing in black and white that they're no longer here, that takes a while to adjust to. It takes a while to swallow. It takes a while to adapt to the new way of life. So we have to change how we see people that are grieving and the grace that we give them. Now, if you have a friend that is like, you're really worried about them and you think that perhaps they need help, then you might not be able to physically get them out of the depression, because that could happen. If you lose someone that's close to you and the feelings of despair just become too much, seek help. Go to support groups. I did that initially when my daughter died. However, for me, the group therapy wasn't the best thing. It just, remember how I was saying trauma dumping earlier? So you're in a group, and if there are people in a group that are more talkative than you, or if there are people in the group, everybody's at different stages of grief. So that might work for some, but for me, I felt like it made me feel worse. I didn't feel better. I felt worse going to the group therapy. But for some, that might be a place for them to connect with other people, to socialize with other people, to see that they're not alone. So I encourage you, if that's something that that you're interested in, definitely seek that out in your town, in your county, in your state, in your country. Seek that out if that's something that will work for you. Losing a loved one is one of the hardest things in this life. There is no timestamp on how quickly you will grieve. And you have to learn, you really do have to learn how to give yourself grace, how to allow yourself to cry, allow yourself to sometimes sit with their pictures and just go through them. And even that might take you a while to even get to a place where you can look at their picture. Don't feel rushed. Don't feel pressured to have it all together quickly because of the society we live in today. It's okay to take your time and grieve your loved one. Keep their memory alive and remember the good times. Remember, hold on to those good times. Because that's all you have now is those memories. And thank God for memories, right? Thank God for dreams. I thank God that I'm able to close my eyes and still dream about my baby girl. But you learn to live with it. You learn to live through the pain. And that's how I live now, through the pain. Because it's painful to this day. When I meet a new person, and for some reason, women are socialized to ask other women how many children they have, if you have children. If a woman doesn't offer that information and doesn't say to you, oh, my daughter this or my son that, try not to verbal vomit and ask those questions, because she could have issues with fertility. She could just not want children and not want to have that conversation because she's made to feel guilty about not wanting children. Or she could have lost a child. And her reliving the story of what happened at that particular moment might not have been on her agenda for the day. So let's just ask each other about each other. What do you like to do? What's your favorite thing to do? Let's ask those questions instead of, are you a mother? Instead of asking the woman, if they have children, as if her identity is the fact that she has children. And we all know that's not our identity. Our identity isn't mother, and that's it. You are multifaceted. You have many things that you are. So as women, let's start to normalize that. Let's start to normalize asking, what are your hobbies? What are some things you like to do? Instead of, how many kids you got, girl? Assuming that every woman has a child, right? Because now what happens, and I'm saying this because what happens in my world when I meet a new person, especially women tend to ask, do you have children? So think about that for someone that lost their only child. So now it either becomes, I tell you what happened to me. This is the first time you're hearing it. So you're going to have a reaction. I don't know what that reaction will be. You might start asking some of those things that I told you guys about earlier in the video. Don't you want more kids? What happened? Those kind of things. And I could be at a training for work, at lunch, and I'm talking, being social, sitting at the table with other people that I just met, and then they start talking about their children. They turn to me. Do you have children? So now I'm going to turn, either the lunch is going to get turned into, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Oh my God, she was so young. Oh my God, don't you want to have more children? See what I mean? So let's normalize not asking that question. Again, we have to stop and ask ourselves, is that question going... I know people ask that so that they have something to relate to someone else, but be careful doing that, because you're not thinking about other people might not have the same experience as me. They might not have had a beautiful birthing story to talk about. There might be trauma there. And that trauma is not something that they want to delve into at 12:30 at lunch with a table full of strangers, right? So this is stuff that I've learned because of what I've been through. So when someone passes, I might say my condolences to you and your family, because that's out of respect, my condolences. But I'm not going to say, oh, they're in a better place. The family might be atheists, and they don't believe in a better place, in the ground, so you just have to be mindful of what you're saying to people, right? And they might not think a better place. They might think a better place is here with me, and now they're gone, and I'm left here with a whirlwind of things to figure out. You might have really, really good intentions with saying something like that, but it doesn't always land with, just because your intention is one thing doesn't mean that the person is going to receive it the way you intended, right? And I know for me, when I meet new people, that's the toughest thing, because I always have a dilemma. Should I tell them what happened? Tell them what happened and then just deal with whatever questions and stuff they're going to ask? Do I say, no, I don't have children? Do I say, I do have a daughter? It's tough, and it really depends. And I try to read the person, because I've been doing this now since 2009, and I've learned over the years, you can't always share your story with everyone. Not everyone is able to handle that level of trauma, and not everyone is able to keep their mouth shut and not ask insane things. So with that, guys, I don't want to keep this video and make it too long. I just kind of wanted to talk about some of the things not to say to someone, to a bereaved family, when they've lost someone that is near and dear to them. The last thing you want to do is add insult to injury. So I hope this video was helpful to anyone that's watching, whether you be a bereaved family member, and in that case, my condolences to you. You can make it through. It's not going to be easy. There's no easy way to grieve, but you can. You can smile again. The burning in your stomach won't be as intense. That hole in your heart will be there, but you fill it up with memories over time. Protect your heart. Protect your energy. Don't have people around you that don't understand your grief and telling you, oh girl, you still crying, or oh, I can't believe, like you're gonna have to get over it. People that say those things to you, they haven't had the experience of losing someone close to them, so they don't understand. They can't fathom what you're going through. So what you're going to do is find that community of people that will support you, that will help you, and that will love you. Find that supportive network. Don't let yourself drown in your grief. That would not be how your loved one wants you to live. They want you to smile. My name is Coach Reen. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.